I remember being so frustrated when I was in early high school trying to learn Spanish that after a year of classes, I still couldn't say anything in the past tense. I talked to a lot of people who are also going through this and who are frustrated by, despite studying Spanish for a while, still can't talk about what happened yesterday in any way. So with that in mind, I wanted to talk today about a simple way to speed things up, take the pressure off, and help you start saying things in the past without having to memorize a million conjugation tables or anything like that. So if you are in that position, if you want to be able to say things in the past, here is a temporary solution that I would recommend. Step 1, learn the present perfect in Spanish. So the same structure exists in English. This is when we say I have eaten, I have walked, I have gone, things like that. And the nice thing about the present perfect in Spanish is that it's much less irregular than other past tenses in the language. So what that means is you just need to memorize a couple little things and you'll be able to quickly say 9 out of 10 things in the past. It's not always the most natural way to express yourself in Spanish, that's for sure, but it is a way to get the ball rolling and help you start expressing yourself in the past. The second thing that I recommend is to learn the preterite, meaning the simple past tense, for a few of the most common verbs in Spanish. In particular, the first person of that. So I went, I wanted, I was, I ate, I saw. If you memorize maybe 10 or so of these most common verbs, plus learn how to use the present perfect for all the other verbs, you will, in the matter of a couple days, be able to start using the past tense. And then over time, you will, as you read things in Spanish and come across and get more familiar with the language, you will absorb a lot of the conjugations that you would have otherwise just seen on a big conjugation table and tried to memorize and had no context for it. So by learning this approach, you buy yourself a little bit of time because you'll feel like you can actually say some things in the past. And again, you'll be able to absorb a lot of the ways that people express themselves in the past just over time and through exposure. And then when you do go look at a grammar book or try and do some exercises, you will have the context and the familiarity with the language so that it makes a lot more sense. So how simple is the present perfect, you might ask? Of course, there are some irregularities, but the cliff notes are this. When a verb ends in AR, as in hablar or bailar, it takes the AR off the end and adds ado. So hablar becomes hablado, bailar becomes bailado. When a verb ends in IR or ER, as in dormir or querer, it takes the ending IDO. So dormido and querido. To actually form these sentences yourself, all you have to do is use a simple auxiliary verb in the middle. Auxiliary verb is just like our English to have. I have eaten, I have walked, and so on. In Spanish, that changes depending on the person who's speaking. So I say, yo he comido, tú has comido, él o ella ha comido, nosotros hemos comido, ellos o ellas han comido. And it continues on with any verb. So if it's an AR verb, it becomes yo he hablado, tú has hablado, ella ha hablado, and so on. So the nice thing about this is you just have to remember the two endings, ado and ido. And you have to remember how to conjugate haber in the middle. So, yo he, tú has, él, ella o usted ha, nosotros hemos, ellos o ellas han. When you have those two pieces, then you can express almost any verb in the present perfect. Meaning you can say, if you don't know how to conjugate a verb in the past, you can just say, I have done this. I have done that. Then to start expressing yourself a little bit more naturally, you can learn the preterite first person tense, as in I went, I saw, I was, things like that. So you can just take verbs like ser, have, tener, decir, to say, hacer, to do, ver, to see. And you can say yo fui, yo tuve, yo hice, yo dije, yo vi. And as you progress, you can add more and more words to your arsenal. You can look up more and more useful verbs in the preterite tense, but just learning 5 or 10 or 15 words in particular in the first person so that you can express yourself, then move on to the second person as in tú, so that you can talk to someone, ask them what they did or what they saw or where they were. By breaking conjugations down in this kind of simple step-by-step way, you will be able to express yourself a lot faster in the past. It won't necessarily be the most accurate or the most natural way of expressing yourself, but everybody will understand you, and you'll be able to gain confidence expressing yourself, gain fluidity, gain familiarity with the sounds, and gain the ability to actually form sentences yourself rather than getting really hung up on, am I conjugating this or that right? Instead, you'll be able to focus on getting your message across. And then over time, you'll gain more and more knowledge about how to conjugate verbs in all their different forms correctly in Spanish. But this is a great way to get you started. So go practice expressing yourself using haber, as in yo he hablado, or tú has comido, and practice using the preterite of a few common verbs like ir, comer, ser, hacer, tener, and then move on once you master the first person and potentially the second person of those. That's it. I hope you found this video helpful. If you have any questions about what I talked about here, leave me a comment and I'll be happy to reply.